So today's scripture reading comes from 1 Samuel 14, and it highlights two diverse attitudes about moving forward when confronted by risk. So Kurt's sermon title today is Just Do Something. You see, as Christ followers, we are called to move forward in faith and not sit in the paralysis of fear. So in today's story, you will hear a stark contrast between a father and a son. That never happens, right? The story is set during the time when Israel was at war with the Philistines. King Saul, the father, feels as though his army is outnumbered and they're lacking provisions. So his choice is to sit and wait for help to arrive. Jonathon, the son, wants to step out on faith and attack a Philistine outpost, and he would only bring with him his armor bearer. Now, keep in mind that in those days, battle was up close and personal. No dropping a bomb from a fighter jet or throwing a hand grenade or even shooting a gun at 500 paces. No, in those days, battles were fought with knives, spears, and hopefully a really good shield. So an armor bearer was someone who carried the weapons and equipment for his commander. He literally went into the battle beside him, and he served as a battle assistant. So in our scripture lesson, Jonathon says to his armor bearer, "Come, let us go over. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, by many or by few." So I thought maybe I would try to state that a little bit more modernly, and this is what it might sound like today. I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but God isn't restricted by our resources. Let's step out and see what he does. So Jonathon is ready to go, but Saul would prefer to wait. So here we have a son who was no doubt raised in a God-honoring family, right? And he's the one exhibiting a faith in God that the father isn't willing to embrace. Now, in all fairness to Saul, sometimes blind faith gets diminished a little bit as we age and go through life, right? We're not maybe as willing to just step out. We don't have to live long to experience times when it seems as though God has not heard our prayers or seen the troubles we face. And naivete gets replaced by wisdom, and optimism sometimes turns a bit pessimistic. Sometimes, because we are jaded, we choose to wait until all of the stars are aligned, or until everything is perfect before we will risk moving forward. Have you ever known a married couple who, when talking about the decision around when they're going to have children, say something like, "We're waiting until we can afford it"? Right? And have you ever thought to yourself, or maybe even said out loud, "Well, you're never going to have children then, because you're never going to be able to afford it"? Or have you heard someone say, "We're going to take a family vacation," or "I'll go back to school when I have enough money in my bank account"? See, what we don't always realize is that while we wait for things to be perfect, we miss out on so much, because the days turn into weeks, turn into months, and turn into years. Now, the rest of the story for Jonathon is that his efforts with the armor bearer at his side ends in a large-scale victory for Israel. Of course, not every act of relying on faith turns into a large victory. But the story of Jonathon's trust in God has meaning for us today. An inherent lesson here is that despite the odds, no matter what we face, the scales towards victory are at least tipped in our favor. They are tipped in our favor when we step out on faith and remember that God is our armor bearer. Welcome to worship. We are so glad you're here.